Hello, today I am going to go through a little tutorial for us for those who are using more of a text-based curriculum. I normally do the math, but I'm doing the logic today for the sake of just showing how the text-based can also be done in a module. I know that sometimes it's a little bit less self-grade worthy, and it's a little bit more ambiguous, but you can still use a module to make your life easier, and I'm going to show you how to go through that. So the first thing that I do with most of the modules that I make is I scan, especially if there's a lot of text, I scan in the teacher key. I don't scan in the workbook, because then I'd still have to go back and forth from what's on the screen to the teacher key in order to type in my answer key for self-grading. So scanning in the teacher key is a much better, a much easier process than scanning in just the student workbook and then referring to the teacher key, if that makes sense. And I'll show you as we get started. So I'm going to begin with I'm going to do all of Chapter 5. I have 4 exercises for Chapter 5. And the way my class is structured for logic is they have homework on Friday, homework on Monday, homework on Tuesday, homework on Wednesday, and then in Thursday in class we have a quiz. And those, of course, are going to be manually graded, but then I will put a grade into the system to record that grade once those are manually graded. So let's begin. I'm just going to click New Upload and go New JunoPod. And because these are text-based, I don't do a lesson. I do test because you're going to have to manually grade a lot of it anyway. So they're not going to have that opportunity to go back and have it tell them whether or not they got it right, because you don't know what words they're going to use to explain it. So there's no point in doing a lesson for a text-based class period. You can still categorize it as a participation grade, but test is simply where it does do the self-grading as much as it can, but they have one shot at it. And that's really the main thing, is that they have one shot at it. If you do the lesson, maybe it's something where it's multiple choice or it's true-false in regards to text, or multiple answers, something like that, where it's a definitive positive or negative answer. It doesn't have to analyze text. If it has to analyze text, lesson is not going to be a good choice. So leave it on test for text-based questions, and then give it your title. And for me, I just use the chapter and the day of the week, or the homework sequence. And this is the first homework for Chapter 5, and so I use 5.1. You can use whatever naming structure you like. So what I do is I set up my assignment and I copy and pasted this into my instructions for that assignment. So I don't have to do that for this. Instead, I'm going to go to long answer. That's a text answer that does not get graded. You have to manually grade anything that says long answer. And I'm just going to copy and paste, and then I'm going to copy the answer. And remember, all they see is a blank. So there's the first one. And if you wanted to, you could go and look at that, say preview. This is what they'll see. So they will not see the answer. Putting the answer in, what that does is when you go to manually grade this, the answer that is supposed to be is there, and then you can use your judgment as to whether or not they got it right. And then you choose to mark it right or wrong in the manual grading process. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to go to new question, and I'm going to copy all the instructions here for this question and paste. And then I look to make sure that it wrapped, the text wrapped well, and that everything looks like it's typed correctly, because sometimes you get a weird character because it doesn't copy or the font is fuzzy. It just depends on how clean your scan is. And then I'm going to copy all of this and paste. And that's really all you do, is you just keep adding a new question and copy the question over, and then you copy the answer over. And as you do, you just check to make sure that it's a clean copy. Like this should be the letter O. You just copy and paste, copy and paste. You click new question and you copy and paste. And you can see I have these windows. Thank you, Tammy, for that, suggesting that. The window for Juno in my internet browser is here, and then I have my Adobe Reader over here set up so that I can copy from it. And then and it makes it easier to go back and forth. And then I paste here. And then I go to the next question, and I just keep going back and forth with these to get these all in here. It's really pretty straightforward. Any subject that uses text or language can do this and make it actually fairly quick work of it. Got one more like this, and then we'll go to another format. Like for this one right here, I need to put a space in. Every now and then you have to go back and check and see what it says. Like this one didn't do right. That's okay, we fixed it. Just glance at it before you move on, or glance at it, one last time before you say done. And I'm going to take questions in random order off because I don't like to have them in random order for certain things. Like if there is a certain sequence of questions that I need them answered in a certain sequence, then I will take this off. If it's just random questions about a text, then it's your choice. You can do it however you want to. But especially when I know I'm going to have a true false or a section down here that needs to all be together, then I'll take questions in random order off because certain instructions are needed here. So let me go to next question. And for this one, I could do this two different ways. This section right here, I have A through P, and they have to tell whether or not it's an A, I, E, or O statement. So I could do a couple of different ways. I could do, because there's so many, I would probably want to break them into two sections if I did a fill in the blank. Or you could do a multiple choice. And I think I'm going to do a fill in the blank and show you how that works, because multiple choice is pretty straightforward. So let's do fill blanks. So they'll get 1 point for each blank that they get correct. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give some instructions. And when you have a whole lot of statements that you are analyzing, sometimes the fill in the blank where you can put the instructions above it is a little bit easier for the student to understand. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this first section on this question right here, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm going to type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that should be more than enough. Actually, let's do 4 for them to type an A, I, E, or O. And you have to type at least 2 spaces for it to recognize it as a blank. And then I'm going to copy my statement. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Copy this. Press enter. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to Control V. There's my statement. So I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do, let's see, how many do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I can do 8 and it be seen. So let's do those. Go enter. 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now I'm just going to copy and paste my sentences here. And you can see how I'm kind of making the same little chart or format. I'm just copying and pasting, Control C or Command C on my keyboard, and then Control V to paste it. So I highlight, I hit Control C, I click where I want it on Jupyter Ed, and I Control V. And then here's the last one. And I'm going to type in these letters in my answers because they're in the right order. So this would be A, O, E, A, I, E, O. Right now I have absolutely no idea what that means because I have not read the book yet. I will get to that. I'm starting on it next week. So I'm going to click Graded Automatically because these are just single letters. They should not have a whole lot of problem. I am going to accept upper or lowercase because honestly I don't care as long as they understand whether or not they're supposed to, whether or not they get the right statement. Okay. So this is one way you can do it. And the reason I'm going to only do half of them on this question and the other half on the next question, let me show you. You can see that with 8 statements here, half of their screen is going to be filled up. And if you put way too many statements, like you couldn't put 8 more down here, it'd be all the way at the bottom and they'd have to scroll. So 8 at a time is plenty. You could even do 4 at a time. It's up to you. But you can see how the student is going to look at that. So they have their information here of what they need to do, and then they have 8 problems. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave that like that, and I'm going to go on. And what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to do another new question. I'm going to copy this question. So I'm going to click, because I have another 8 to do. I'm going to click Copy, and it's the last one I just did, and it's copying from this pod. You can choose to copy from another pod if you need to, like if it's something that's complicated that you do in every pod, like a structure or a format. But I'm just going to copy this down and click Insert Copy. So now I have a duplicate of the one I just did. So I am going to change out the sentences. So I am going to say, no girls are pretty here, and I'm going to copy it over this one. And then I'm just going to replace the sentences that were already there with the new ones. I'm just keeping up with which ones, like whatever is across from it. No boys are rude is the one that replaces this one with. All cars are fast. Some girls are not pretty. Some girls are not. You know, sometimes they're just not pretty on the inside, which is what really counts. All girls are pretty. I think they can be. It's the heart that matters, and that replaces some men are mortal. All right, some cars are fast. It's going to replace some boys are rude. Some boys are rude. Some are not. No cars are fast replaces no men are mortal, which I think is a falsity. I'm pretty sure. Maybe their legends are immortal. And some girls are pretty replaces some boys are not rude. All right, so I've replaced all my sentences, so now I need to make sure my answers are right. So I'm going to just replace the answer. That's E, and you can just click Tab to go to the next one. That stays O. This one goes to A, O, see, E, O, A, O, A, and then I, and then E, and then I. Okay, so now I've got all of this set up as fill blanks, and they have their instructions, and so you can preview this one. Here's the last one we did, and here's the previous. So you can see that that's a little bit easier for them to, you know, think if you had a big long list sitting here, that'd be kind of overwhelming. So we don't want to do that. Breaking it up into 2 sections is the right way to go. Plus it's easier to see on your screen and easier to keep the answer straight. So now we do a new question, and I go down here, and I'm going to change this to go back to long answer and just copy and paste some more. Sometimes you get wrapping problems where you need to back it back up. And again, your answer here is just for your reference. They will not see this answer because you have marked it as a test, not as a lesson. So what you type there is for you and for you alone to use when you grade. I just keep on copying and pasting. That's pretty much the way it goes. All right, so with this one, I'm going to probably do, I think I'll do another fill in the blank. That will probably work the best. So I'm going to, let me make sure, yeah, I did that. All right, so I'm going to copy the instructions. And I'm going to go ahead and make my blanks. I'm going to do 9 spaces for the sake of making sure they have enough room to write their answer. That's one, I copied that. And I'm going to go paste, and then paste, and there's 4 blanks. So paste, and then now I can just do this. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, and paste. And now I just need to put the answers in the right order. Yeah, sometimes it does that. You just type over it. Sometimes it's easier to just type. There we go. Now, whenever you have fill in the blanks like this and they're specific to each blank, do not check this, because if you check this, then it's going to grade this based on here. And it's going to mix them all up, and it won't matter what order they put them in. It'll mark it right if they get it close. So don't do this, okay? And actually what I think I'm going to do is just, yeah, I'm going to leave that like that. But yeah, you don't want to check this when these are specific to one another. You only want to check this if you have them make a list. Like, what are the 3 types of, I don't know, shoes that people wore in the Middle Ages, just as a reference. You could put 3 blanks there and then accept the answers in any order, because not everybody's going to list them in the same order. But when this answer is specific to this question, it can't go in anywhere else, then you do not want to check accept answers in any order. That's important. Okay, so I'm going to do another one of those that I did, and instead of recreating the wheel, I'm going to insert a copy, and that was number 9 was the one that I did. So I'm going to go to 9 and I'm going to insert the copy. So they already have everything set up, and all I have to do here is copy, and I'm going to stop here. I'm going to say indicate the quantifier in each of the statements. And I'm going to list those quantifiers here. And that's going to be all, some, no, and some, my lips, not. All right, those are my quantifiers. So now I'm just got to do the copy and paste. So that one goes there, this one goes here, this one goes here, and you could take out some of those comments, some of those statements before you get started so you don't lose track of where you are. I like to just count, and I know this one is the 6th one, the 7th one, and the last one. And now I can just, it's thundering, so if you hear something in the background, that's what it is. All right, now I just type in the answers. All okay. All right, so now I can copy this one. All right, so what I did, this is out of order. Let me drag it back down. And you can do that. You can drag them around. So what I did was I did this one, and then I stayed and I clicked on this one and then added or copied the question over and it put it in between. So if you do that accidentally, don't freak out. You don't have to delete anything. You can just pick up a question and drag it where you want it. I want that there. And I'm going to copy this one over so I don't have to type those directions again. And there we go. And in this case, it's going to be a little bit easier because I know what it's supposed to replace because it's across from it, just like before. And you could always type if you would rather type. I'm just a little bit lazier than some people, so I'm going to copy and paste because it makes this a little bit faster for me. And I'm almost done. If I were smart, I would check to see, yep, these are the same. I could have just copied that straight across, straight down, and not had to copy and paste these. But I'm almost done now, so I really hate to start over. All right, so there we go. All right, so now I just need to check my answers. So it's no, some not, all, some not. Oh, it would help to spell right. Okay, all, some, no, and then this is some. All right, there we go. So I have all of those in, and I have one last question. And that's going to be a long answer. What are the two characteristics of categorical statements? Copy and paste. And copy the answer and paste it in. And I am done with that pod. It took a little bit of time, but that's 50 points, by the way. And let me show you how I attach that to my Juno pod. So done. Or attach it to my assignment. Okay, so I go to grades, I click dashboard, right? Chapter 5, day 1, because that was logic 5-1, so I click that. And you can see what I've done. I went in here to the very beginning and I highlighted all of this, copied it and pasted it into my directions. Then this was the next set of instructions, so I copied and pasted it in there. And this was the last set of instructions and I copied and pasted it into there. And then that was all for day 1. This begins the day 2, so I skip that. But now I click attach and I go to Juno Pod and I click logic 5.1 because it's chapter 5, day 1, and I click attach. And then I come down here and I just click set online now. I don't do show score. There's no point in showing them the score when the majority of it has to be manually graded. That's just kind of a teaser. It's not worth it. So I don't click any of these whenever I am doing a text-based problem. Now, if it was all true, false, or it's all multiple choice, then yes, you could, because it would self-grade all of that. But long answers, if you have a bunch of long answers, it's not worth showing them the score because it just raises a question. How come I only got 3 out of 50 right? Well, it's because 3 were the only ones that could be automatically graded. Sorry. Got to grade the others. So just, it's not even worth the hassle of trying to explain it to them. Just leave it all where, they turn it in and they're done. And then you check it. So set online now. The green circle means that they all have access to it, but it's only going to be one day. It's going to show up the day before the 17th. So it'll show up on the 16th, and that's when they have access to it. Now, they will continue to have access to it through the calendar until they turn it in for grading. Once they turn in for grading, they cannot go back into it except to see their grade. And that's all they can do. So unless you set it back online, that's why I say there's no point in setting a start date or an end date. Just have a due date, and then when you're tired of waiting for them to finish the work, or maybe you set a time limit and you say, okay, I'm going to give them until, Monday to finish the previous week's work. So then you figure out what those lessons are, and if they haven't done them by Monday, turn them off. And all you have to do for that is to click here and set all offline. And everything's offline. Now they cannot access that lesson and do any more work on it. So setting a start and end date really isn't necessary unless you are not going to be available. Like, let's say you have a final assignment that needs to be turned in and you're going to go on vacation. Maybe it is something that has to be done by the Sunday before Christmas break. Then I'd set an end date, because you might be on the road traveling by that time and you're not going to want to check in and turn it all off. If that's a situation, then that's when I would use an end date for something. Otherwise, if you're just in your regular week and you have access to it, you're logging in every day or every other day to check their work, there's no need, because you can make that decision manually and just knock it out. I'm going to set this back online now, and I'm going to click done, and you can see now this has a green circle next to it. It's all available. The students can get in and do the work. And the point of having some things in here, they can go to the calendar and they can work a little bit ahead, which is always a good thing, because you never know. The students, sometimes they have stuff come up just like we do. And if they can work a little ahead, that's a good thing. That's let them do a little bit more. Let them get a little bit ahead, and then you notice the ones that do that if you're in here every couple of days, and you can give them the credit for that later. Maybe, they need a point they have an 89 and they've been working ahead for the most part. You can give them that extra point to make it a 90, and then they have an A. That's worth something. So give them the opportunity to earn extra credit just for their effort that they've put into it and their initiative. That's just my opinion. You can do it however you want to, but I like to see that. I like to give them the opportunity to have some initiative in their schoolwork and to work at a pace that meets their needs and prepares them for whatever's coming up. Anyway, that's all I had. I wanted to show you how to copy and paste to create a Junopod for text that you could grade, that would be easier for you than giving them a worksheet and having to actually try to read their handwriting, which kind of stinks sometimes, because I know mine isn't great all the time either. But anyway, if you have any questions about scanning things in, again, I completely recommend, or I highly recommend, scanning in the teacher key, not the student workbook, because then you have the answers right there that you can copy and paste so that you can grade faster. You don't have to go back and forth from the screen to the teacher's book. It's all in one place. So if you have any questions on how to scan, or you need to have something scanned, you can set up a time with me. We can scan stuff in. I have a great book scanner that does a great job and makes life a lot easier. And I am more than happy to share my gifts that I have, the blessings that God has given me with the rest of my teachers and my teacher friends. So that's all I have for today, and I'll see you when I see you.